You were a survivor of 9/11. You were able to survive the attack on the World Trade Center in the building. And, I know that this election is probably very meaningful to you to see a guy who's an Islamist who is leading right now. Share with our viewers your thoughts about where we are just a few days before this election.
Well, unfortunately, I think that the reality is when you look at the demographic that now is New York City, there's no way this man does not win. We're not talking about Democrats with the crazy blue hair and the Antifa types that are going to be voting for him. He has his own kind. And this has been the problem in the United States, Jeff, for the past 20, 25 years. And I've been screaming about it for the past 20 years. And it's like it's gone on a deaf ear. Now we're going to finally see what it is that I've been screaming about. And that is, everybody has always talked about the illegal immigration that was taken down at the border. And Trump has done a stellar job at stopping that from coming in, although we do have to up our deportations here of the illegal aliens. But a bigger problem than that, really, is the legal immigration that we've been taking in, over 1.2 million people a year. And so we're taking in people from the Middle East. We're taking in people from countries that, want us dead. And so now he's got a New York City filled with that. And before long, Jeff, you're going to see that New York City is basically going to be a bigger image of what it is that we see going on in London today.
9/11, we had a mayor in New York City, Rudy Giuliani, who was a Republican. So now, 24 years later, the Republican who's running, they say doesn't have a prayer, and the man who's going to win is this radical Islamist, Mamdani. So, New York has changed incredibly in these years, right?
I grew up on Long Island, and I worked in New York, and that's why I was there at the bottom of the Trade Center on 9/11 and watched my fellow American jump from 80 stories. Think about that, Jeff, for a second, right? When the lesser of a horrible death is jumping from 80 stories, you know how bad it is. You would think we learned our lesson, and we did for a while, and Rudy Giuliani was sensational. What people don't know who don't live in New York, it's like, we're in this orbit, and we're now back to the bad part of the orbit. He took over for a mayor named Dinkins, was a black Democrat, destroyed the city.
Terrible.
And after Rudy Giuliani came in and cleaned everything up, slowly but surely, the pendulum went back to that. And now if you look, Adams was no different than Dinkins. And now we're going to have a socialist Muslim extremist. And I don't think that the majority of Americans realize what that's going to mean. People look at New York City and they say, oh my God, it's lost, it's garbage, whatever it may be. Listen, what's going to happen is that the Muslim world is going to take a look at this and say, we just took over the largest city, not only just in the United States, but the most important city in the entire world. Our plan is metastasizing perfectly. And I don't know how familiar you are or not with the Holy Land Foundation trial that took place in 2008.
Somewhat.
But yeah, well, during that time, Jeff, what wound up happening is that the FBI had revealed documents that it had found from the Muslim Brotherhood. And those documents said that the plan was to take over America from within, take over the media, take over the businesses, take over the schools, and eventually take over the government. And what you're starting to see, if you go back and you look at all the little stories that people like myself or you or other folks in the news,
Right.
especially in independent media, have been covering over the course of time, they have the shock value. Like, we can't call Christmas anymore on the calendar. Now it's got to be winter break because the Muslim population
Right.
doesn't like this. And what they've done
Right.
slowly but surely is they've chipped away, and here they are. They're about to take over the big major city called New York. And when the Muslims see this around the world, they're going to realize that they got the biggest city and the rest of them are going to be easy to fall in line. And we are going to be subjected to a country that looks like New York City, which looks like London.
London and New York are maybe the two financial capitals of the world, right? And both of them will be led by, radical Muslims. And that's scary. You look at Michigan, what's going on in Michigan. You look at what's going on in Minnesota, where you got the attorney general there, Keith Ellison, who's a radical Muslim. And then you got, of course, Ilhan Omar and all these others, Rashida Tlaib. And then you go in Texas and look at what they tried to do with Epic City and still trying to do. I mean, this is coordinated, obviously, and it was allowed to, increase tremendously under the Biden years. I think we've We've tried to slow the flow during Donald Trump, but I agree with you. We need a lot more deportations.
Well,
The Muslim travel ban is what was called during the first Trump administration. Basically, it was keeping people from terror countries coming in here, and he got roasted for that. They said it was discrimination, Islamophobia. Do we need more of
I
that,
mean,
Dennis?
well, yeah, I think it has to go even further, Jeff. I mean, much, much further, because when you look at the Muslim ban, it was a nice effort, and it only covered a handful of countries. I mean, there are countries with large Muslim populations that are not on that list. So, I always use this one, Jeff. If I were president, what would I do? I think what happens sometimes with Trump, and I voted for him 3 times. I love the guy, and I think he's the best president we've ever had. But there are some times when he falls short, and I think it's because he's not being advised in the right way. See, his problem is that when he puts out something like a Muslim ban, which is really a travel ban, but it gets shaped as a Muslim ban, automatically, like you said, it's discrimination. I wouldn't do it
Right.
like that. The president of the United States has the power through our laws. He can stop immigration into this country, right? So what I would have done, or I would have advised him to do, is say, listen, stop immigration from all countries for a certain period of time.
Everyone. Yes.
Everyone. And because when you paste it like that, when you say, look, stop the Irishman coming in, stop the Englishman
Right.
coming in, stop stop it for
Yes.
everybody. And the reason why, the way that you can get away with that is that our vetting system is horrific. And so we
Right.
don't have the ability to vet people correctly from anywhere. So we have to stop all immigration until we get our act together. And
I'm
that would
I'm
slow things down.
I'm totally in favor of that, and I've said it on my show as well. I think we need a 10-year moratorium on immigration coming into this country. We need to absorb what we have, see who's here, deport the people that we need to get rid of, and we got our hands full as it is. We can't be importing another million plus every year. I agree completely. How can we get that
No.
done, Dennis?
Well, listen, you need, I don't know if Stephen Miller is saying this sort of thing to Trump and Trump is resisting it. I have no idea. I'm not in that room. I would assume that Stephen Miller, because he's as staunch as I am when it comes to this topic, I would assume he's probably made the suggestion. But look, Jeff, go back to what I just said to you about the Holy Land Foundation and what we found out. Get their media, get their schools, get the government. So there are people within our government on the right side as well, who are going to tell the president of the United States, you can't do this. If you stop all immigration coming into the United States, our economy will fall, this, that, all
Right.
the other different garbage. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. And I think it's a misinformed person or a person who has an agenda. And therefore, everything's going to fall down. I mean, you watch what happens to New York City, Jeff. If you and I are together
Yeah.
a year from now, you're going to see cops are going to quit. Housing is going to collapse. He wants to put
Business is going to go right. Yeah.
business is going to, Jeff, I live in Florida. Okay. And, real estate hasn't been the hottest thing in the while. It is so hot down here where I live. And I
Right.
don't mean the temperature, because Mamdani is the best realtor in the world. He has people. I
Right.
mean, we're selling houses like crazy. And who is it? It's
Yeah.
all the New Yorkers who
New
are trying to
Yorkers.
get out of the hell.